Mary Jane is here. She called. Angela Lee. Matt.
Here.
Clyde. Okay, Ciji is here. Michelle Broussard is here.
Here.
Katie Landry. Katie Landry.
Katie's here. She's on mute.
Okay, thank you. Katie, if you can hear.
Now can you hear me?
Now
Yes.
we can hear. Fine, thanks.
Matt.
Shannon Crumlish.
I'm here.
Thank you, Shannon. Butch Mouton. Hi, Shannon. Butch. Shannon Thomas.
Here.
Thank you. Vicki. Vicki.
I'm here.
Thanks, Vicki. Burnell. Burnell.
I
Matt?
can see him, Miss Nancy. He's on mute.
Okay. Burnell, if you can hear us, touch your what looks like a microphone so we can hear you. So we only have 4 absent. Trish, if you
Miss
take
Nancy, I'm here.
Oh, great. All that work, you finally did it, Mary Jane. I'm impressed.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Now I can hear you and see you, Burnell. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Butch Mouton cannot get into the meeting. He tried the phone and it's giving him an error. He tried to enter through the meeting. Passcode, that it's an error. It was given to me by Trish August 31st. I'm sure that's...
The phone doesn't work. I tried that.
It does not work?
No.
No, it's not Trisha's fault. It's mine. We had some problems with getting it to work today. It's not working. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. He can just call me and I'll put him on speakerphone. How's that?
So, Miss Nancy, can you tell me one more time? Is it Keith? I see Keith, I think, on...
No, Keith is on. It's Donna, Angela. Angela's the one we have trouble getting hold of. Mia. And Butch is trying to get on and can't. I'm getting him to call my house phone and I'll put him on speaker.
Okay, that's who I have.
Okay, we're ready to go. Call the meeting to order. First item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? And if you'd say your name so Trish can get it, I'd appreciate it.
I so moved, Burnell.
Okay, Burnell made a motion to approve the agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second Katie.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So the agenda is approved. Before we get into the Shane's presentation, did everyone get the email from Trish? I did not. Debra, did you have a problem?
Well, I finally got it, and then Trish got it to me. I had a problem getting on the phone, but I finally got in on my computer.
I sent it to Miss Debra this afternoon, so I believe she has it.
Okay, so I don't know, something happened to my email and to Debra's email. I don't know what it was, but we'll get it worked out.
I see Miss Donna Broussard on. You there, Miss Donna? Miss Donna? I think it's Miss Donna is who I see.
She might be muted.
Miss Donna, you got your mute button on?
You see a microphone with a line through it?
We'll all learn this someday.
And then COVID will thankfully be over one day.
I can see her, so I'm going to count her as present and I can follow up with her.
So that just leaves Mia and Angela, and Butch is on the phone. You still there, Butch?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, Butch is there and he can speak and use my mic. He's on the phone. All right, the purpose of the meeting is to hear a presentation from Shane, EBI, about the possibility, and I think Justin's going to join us. And Hannah, I didn't call your name, Hannah, and I apologize for that.
No.
But I did see you.
Miss
And
Mounce,
Justin-
I just joined.
Thank you, Mr. Centeni. Shane, the floor is yours, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Excellent. Well, I have to say, first of all, it sure is good to see all of your faces. I've been cooped up for way too long, and I'm sure some of you probably feel the same way. So I just want to start off with just a couple of points before we get into any questions. The first thing that I would like to say is for the new members to the committee, and then I know Ms. Mason being fairly new to the board and to the board insurance committee. This is the first time that I've presented when you've been a part. So welcome to you guys. My name is Shane Pennington, and I serve as the broker for voluntary benefits for Lafayette Parish School System. I want to say thank you, but I also want to say I'm sorry because I know that this timeline was not ideal. It wasn't ideal for you guys, but it wasn't ideal for me either. Because of COVID, business is just not run the same as it has in the past. So we were really late getting renewals. The process of me even looking at this product took a lot longer, so I apologize. But in that, I also want to say thank you because I think that your purpose for being on this committee is in line with mine and the rest of my team with EBI in serving the employees and retirees of Lafayette Parish School System to the very best of our ability when it comes to the products that we offer and the services that we offer as well. So for those of you who are new, just quickly, as your broker of voluntary employee benefits, I don't make requests, okay? My job is to work on behalf of the school system to always be looking at the number of products that we offer. And I'm always looking for the best product, the best rates. And I want to make sure that we have good administration on the back side, on the back office of everything that we bring to you, because service goes a long ways in how quickly I can get to those carriers, how quickly I can get information back to Trish and her team. So I just wanted to make that clear. My job is to work on behalf of you guys. So tonight, all we're talking about is an option that I'm bringing to you. So if you feel like this is something that would be good for the school system, then let's do it. If you don't think that this is a good thing for the school district, we're going to continue on providing the same service. So this is totally on you guys to make this decision. It's my job to bring you the options. So we're talking specifically about Unum Life Insurance. For those of you who know, when EBI took over as broker of record, it was in late 18, officially January 1st of 2019 is when our product mix went into play, our billing systems, our technology, all of those things. We acquired the Unum Life Insurance and the long-term care, and I chose at that time not to go through this process. We were crunched on time. I knew that there was a lot of retirees that were still on the plan, and I just made the decision that we weren't going to touch it. So we've been working with Unum now for the past 2 years. What I can tell you is we have had administrative issues that have hurt us in our service time back to the school system. We have gotten unclear information from Unum that has caused not only my team, but also Trish and her team a lot of extra work just to get things lined out with them. Some of the decisions that were made, Ms. Mounce, I know that you and the majority of this team, you guys were having committee meetings and talking about the Unum Life Insurance and the great expense of it. And you made a change just before we came in. So we acquired that change. There were some other things that happened January of 2019 that I caught And I'm glad that I caught it because I was able to reverse a couple of things that would have hurt our retirees. So we've continued on. We had a couple of other issues. I know how difficult it was to work with them in the beginning. I know that their guaranteed rate, we have one more year. So through the end of 2021, we have a rate guarantee with Unum. I was curious though. So I didn't tell Trish, I didn't tell anyone. Again, I was working on behalf of the school system. I was curious. So I went out, it's probably been 2 months ago, which typically this would take maybe 2 weeks maybe. But I started 2 months ago on this project to see if I could find another option for the universal life, for the supplemental life and the basic life, which is currently offered by Unum. I reached out to 3 groups. One of them, which we'll talk more about tonight, US Able Life Insurance. I reached out to Lincoln, who currently offers the school district's critical illness and their short and long-term disability. And then I also reached out to One America. So I had 3 different carriers that I reached out to, and I had them all working, and it looked really good. And then one, US Able, came through and were willing to move forward. One America and Lincoln bowed out. And I think all of you should have letters, the emails where they were telling me why they did not want to move forward in the bid process. And to be honest with you, you guys already know this because you had these discussions before I came on board. It's because of the risk associated with the retiree population. You have to understand we're talking about life insurance here. I don't like it, but that's just how it works. So when I started looking at this, when US Able sent me their proposal, at that point, it's my job to say, is this worthy to take to Trish? I didn't even have to say anything about it. She didn't know I was working on it. So when I saw that our savings were 18%, it's approximately 18, I think it's a little bit more than 18%. For the way that your participation is running right now, it's going to come out to roughly, it's going to be anywhere between $60,000 and $70,000 savings to your general fund each year. And I sat back and I said, should I take this to them or should I not? And I said, well, I think $70,000 to a big school system like Lafayette may not be that much, but that is $70,000 and I need to make them aware. So I started the process. I presented this to Trish and Candy, who deals with a lot of the administrative parts behind the scenes. And then they began to run this up the chain internally. Obviously, that's how it ended up at this level with the committee. What I can tell you is I would never, there are 3 reasons why I would ever bring something to this committee to consider. 1, I feel like I can get a better price. 2, I feel like I can get a better product. And 3, I can get better administration. And in this case, it was because we had cost and I knew that we had administrative issues. So in saying that, what I want you to know is that what US Able did is they matched the Unum plan. On the supplemental plan, it is matched there's one line item, and that line item is for spouse guaranteed issue. The Unum plan was $25,000. They're giving us $30,000 on the guaranteed issue. On the basic life, the plans are exactly the same: $10,000 for actives, $5,000 for the retirees. The difference is they're giving us a little over 18% savings there. That's where that $60,000 to $70,000 comes. So I felt very comfortable with presenting that to Trish and her team and to you guys. I think at the end of this, there's a couple of things that we need to consider. 1, we do have 1 more year guaranteed rate for Unum. Okay. US Able is willing to give us a 3-year rate guarantee, which would take us to I guess that's the end of 23. I don't know. This is what concerns me. I don't know what Unum is going to do at the end of next year. I know how hard I had to fight them early in 2019 to keep things that you guys thought that we were going to have, that they were trying to terminate behind the scenes. I know how hard I had to fight to keep that. I know how hard we had to fight to get them to remove age reductions on the little $5,000 policy. It was a nightmare for us to try to get them to do that. And it was clearly, Trish and I went back and watched videos of these meetings. It was very clear that those reductions were not supposed to be there. So administratively, obviously an issue. So I don't know in 1 year what they're going to come back with. My fear is that they're going to come back with a huge increase. I do know that we can get 3 years guaranteed with USAble. So we're safe. We'd be safe for 3 years. I can't guarantee if we don't go with USAble that if we get the hike with Unum, USAble is going to offer this next year. So that's kind of the position that we're in. That's what you guys need to know to make this decision. I personally don't know what Unum's going to do next year. We have a 3-year rate guarantee. Plans match up. We do a lot of work. I've done a lot of work with USAble. I've done a lot of work with Lincoln and One America. I can tell you the problem or the challenge for any of these carriers is the risk on the retiree life insurance. So I don't really have a formal presentation. Those are the things that I wanted to say to get us talking. I'm sure, Ms. Mounce, I know that you were sending some questions to Trish. Some of those came to me to help answer those. So I'm sure that you have more questions, and I'm here to answer anything that I possibly can to help you guys make that decision. But I want to make sure that you understand, I, as your broker, I don't make requests. I bring you options and you make the decision, and then whatever that decision is, we continue moving on. So
Before we open it up for questions, you referenced something, and we have a lot of new members on the committee.
Yes.
Maybe Trish could explain, or you could explain. Last year, the committee made a decision to save the board some money for retirees as of January 1/19. Could you explain what that change was, and you or Matt, what that savings was to the board?
Trish or Matt, do you guys want to take that? I know that you guys, the one thing that I know that you did was you had 10,000 basic life for the actives and the retirees. So you reduced the retiree down to a $5,000 amount. You also had, I believe it was a $2,500 dependent life insurance that was also removed. I don't know what the savings was. That was before me. Like Matt, Trish, you guys may be able to speak to that.
Anybody know?
With regard to his savings with Unum, Ms. Nancy?
The change we made last year of the $5,000, the savings to the board. Do you know what that total amount was?
I do not know that information.
Okay,
No.
that's fine.
Miss Mounce, if I remember correctly, it was just short of $300,000 a year.
Okay, thanks so much. It's nice to have numbers, people. All right, we'll open it for questions. If you could just say your name first, because I can't see anybody on my screen. So if you just say your name and ask your questions.
Shannon Crumlish, and my question is, and if this has been asked or stated already, I apologize, but when would these changes take effect?
Sure. So January 1 is the effective date and renewal date for these. So that's when it would take place. So as it relates to active employees, you should know this. Active employees would be giving a new guaranteed issue. So people that didn't get in the Unum plan back however many years ago would have a new 5 times their salary or up to $200,000 of coverage for themselves, guaranteed issue, $30,000 for spouse, and $10,000 for as many children as a family would have. That would all go into effect January 1st of 2021.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Shannon. Anybody else? Because I have a bunch of questions, so I'll go last.
Carole Broussard, I have a question. I'm just confused because we talked about this in 2019, and then I heard the statement that in 2019 everything changed and that there were some significant things. Were those things brought to our committee?
It was 2018. It was before we took over. It was actually back in 2018 that you guys made all of those changes.
So it's January 2018, not 19.
No, it was not January. You guys met as a committee. It was, Trish, you'll have to tell us what those were, but it was before we took over, before we started our open enrollment, which would have been, I guess, September, October of 2018
I think the question was, when did you said you had all these problems with Unum.
2019.
But no, this committee never heard about one problem. This is exactly what happened with First Financial.
Yes. So I can't explain that. So again, part of my job is to reduce the amount of stress on you guys, on any of the employees or anything else. I will tell you this. In January, it was probably January 17th of 2019, we had just started. I came across something, again, I acquired Unum. I came across something that said that all retiree supplemental life, and you guys have a lot of participation from retirees on supplemental life. A lot of these people don't have any other life insurance. Something came across my table that said that all of that coverage was going to be terminated at the end of January. So I found out on January 17th. So at that point, I notified Trish. We began looking back at the videos. Nothing was ever told to you guys.
Never.
It was never. So that was my first fight. And it took us, Trish, you may remember, it took me probably a month to 2 months to fight with Unum to get them to reverse that. So at that point, we reversed that. They were able to keep the coverage that they had. And I also got it approved that anybody retiring, if they currently had the supplemental life, when they retired, they were able to keep their supplemental life as it is as an active employee. So that all happened in January of 2019.
Okay, the concern that Carole has, and because we went through this in a debacle previously, and that's how EBI got involved, was the committee had never heard one complaint, and then we heard about administrative complaints. So if you have problems, if you have with, I don't care who it's with, that's why we're here. If we know there are problems, it makes our decision making easier. When you come to us a year later or 6 months later and say, I'm recommending you look at this new policy because I had problems 6 months ago, we never heard about them.
That's fine. And
it's not helping us, if that's what I'm saying.
And I can totally accept that. You have to understand, we had just taken over January 1 of 2019. I found this 17 days later. I went to work on your behalf to stop this. Once I got it turned around, there was nothing that you guys would have been able to do. But I hear what you're saying. So if you want to be notified that I'm working on an issue, then I hear you.
Absolutely.
May I interject real quick?
Please.
Yes, ma'am. The concerns from the committee are quite valid. Ms. Trish and I talked, and when she shared what Mr. Shane is saying with me, my question was, well, why was that never shared with the committee? And the answer, not to throw anybody under the bus, the answer was an administrative decision. And so Ms. Trish and I talked, and I said, okay, from now on, we need to let people know what's going on, because it doesn't give the right look when these things happen and it looks as though we're hiding something, or it looks as though we're holding on to something to come back and say, this is why we're doing it. So yes, when we find these errors, these mistakes, these issues that arise, hopefully no more will arise, but if and when they do, then yes, a different outlook on some things maybe, and we are going to share them with the committee. And Ms. Trish and I have already discussed, we can't control the committee's reaction, nor do we want to do that, but you can't have a reaction if you don't even know. So moving forward, we're going to do everything we can to let you know.
I appreciate it.
Katie Landry. And John, I appreciate that. Part of the problem with this committee has been we were never informed of problems, and then we ended up in a crisis situation in which we had to make a rash decision because we weren't informed previously. We thought we had made that clear. All we want is the information so we can research it and make sure they're sound. So I appreciate your saying that. And, I hope it does happen, because we have run into numerous problems with this in the past.
Yes, ma'am. And let me say this. I don't want it to appear as though it is Trish's fault. As I said, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but Trish only has a certain level she can only go a certain level. and then somebody above her has to say either yay or nay. And the answers previously had been nay. So she knew about the problems, but at that point she could not bring them to the committee because her higher ups had said no. So now we're at a point where we are going to do everything we can not to allow that to happen again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mouton. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
You know, I am the new school board member, so I'm still trying to put everything together. Okay, so Shane, you said you're working on behalf of the school system, but your employer is EBI, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and then we usually have, who's the guy that explains everything to us usually? Nancy, the one
For health insurance.
You're talking about Lynn Fontaine.
Yes. Okay. So he's
different company.
That's a totally different thing, yes. Correct? Yes. Okay. Correct. And he works for
Hub International.
Okay. So does LPSS pay him to
correct.
Explain things to us? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So do we pay Shane to explain things to us?
No.
Okay.
Shane doesn't get paid for this.
Okay. So you work on behalf of EBI, correct? But for our school system. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that I understood where everyone's coming from as we're
Mr. Fontaine
trying to follow along. So yeah. Thank you.
It's a good question. Mr. Fontaine handles our self-funded health insurance, and historically it took a whole lot of work from a lot of people to get our health insurance and the consultant in a place where we were doing what we should be doing as a system. It took a lot of work and a great deal of time, and in spite of some things out at the central office, but it got done. And I think I've not heard any complaints about his presentation, his work, and his savings that he's gotten.
Right. So we don't have one of him over here helping us with the voluntary benefits. Voluntary
benefits is a contract with EBI, I believe. Shane can correct me if I'm wrong. It's a 3-year contract with 1-year options to renew on it. And that contract was awarded to EBI after First Financial, who was our voluntary benefits provider.
All right. So I think as a new school board member, you know, since I was offered insurance, I think I spoke to someone with a 501 number asking me about my 501 is Little Rock, right?
Yeah,
right.
Asking me about all the extra things I could get for if my child had a broken arm. So is that the right thing?
Yeah.
We're talking about
Shane's that person.
Did they help you?
Oh, well, I don't get paid enough to even be able to pay the insurance. So I couldn't afford any of it. It didn't even cover the insurance.
Any other questions?
Hey, if that was for your child's broken arm, that might have not been employees. These are employee benefits. The school board doesn't put any money into what Shane
right.
does.
It was like an extra fee that I was going to have to buy.
Right.
You know. And the purpose of having that is to give our employees opportunities to buy these products at a negotiated price using the population of the school system. Rather, if you want dental insurance per se, you know, you couldn't get a policy at this price going with 1 or 2 people, but when we go with 5,000 people, we can really shop it. And then when we combine the experience of EBI and they're in a big market.
Okay.
So it just gets better prices and better quality stuff for our employees,
right.
But it's all voluntary.
Right. So I also heard you say that you shopped this around with, you named like US Able, Lincoln, One America.
And One America, those 3.
Do you have to follow the same rules that we do, where it's like you have to have 3 bids, you know, out to public bid and all of that? Or
that's what we will at a minimum go for 3 is what we try to do. So those were the 3. I really thought that Lincoln and One America would be able to compete as well. They just backed off of it. So
right, but does it need to like? I'm just curious about the rules, like with LPS.
He's not
in public. But
They're
he's
not
not
subject to the public bid law.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Just want to clarify. Thank you so much.
Any
Shay,
other
I do have a question about checking with the other companies. If my memory serves me correctly, when you sent us, or when Trish sent us that email with their decline, they were dated after you had already offered us the US Able.
So a lot of those conversations happen, and I talk with those reps from those carriers. So they had already told me that they were backing off. And then I believe it was Ms. Mounce, or it may have been your question, when asked for what the other companies, what they were doing, I knew that I needed to get something in writing from them for this committee. So that's when I went back to them and asked them, or told them I need something in writing telling me that you are backing off the bid and why.
Okay.
If I could ask a question real quick, this is Ciji Hollis. I apologize.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Pennington, my question is due to the concerns that we have over the previous history of what took place, is there no one that was willing to come with EBI to this table and try to keep us?
I'm not sure who you're referring to. So as your broker, I represent any carriers that we bring. I represent all of them. So Unum, as far as Unum is concerned, they've got one more year on their guaranteed rate.
Don't they have a year and a half? I mean, we're talking December 2021.
You're right.
It's
Yes.
not a year left. It's almost 2 years left.
Sure, it's a year and a half.
I apologize. This is my first year here, so obviously I have questions that had I known that you were not for one or the other side, I would not have wasted your time with that. But thank you for clarifying that. I understand completely.
So much.
Any question's a good one. Any
Yes.
question is a good one. One of the questions I was asked.
Nancy, I have another question. And then
Okay.
But Shane, did you even check with Unum? Were they given an opportunity to renegotiate?
I have not spoken to Unum to renegotiate their rates because they've got that guarantee, like Ms. Mount said, for another year and a half.
But if they knew they were about to lose this contract, those rates could be lowered, couldn't they?
It's possible. We would still be dealing with the administrative issues
That we didn't know anything about. That's why we need to know. One of the concerns people expressed was about. One second, Carole.
What are those administrative concerns that you keep referring to?
No, and it was the thing that I talked about as far as me finding that they were going to terminate this large group of retirees supplemental life. That was one of those things, and it took us, I know it was over a month to get that reversed. The other thing was that they were reducing the $5,000, the little $5,000 death benefit on the basic life. They were reducing that. They had an age calculation where they were reducing that, and you guys had clearly approved that there would be no more reductions in that death benefit based on it. So again, we had to work through those issues to get them to stop doing that, and that caused a lot of trouble for Trish and her team internally, because people were calling in and saying, why did I not get $5,000 for this loss of life or whatever? So
I want to read Butch's comment if I could. He says, I'm totally opposed to the change. I suggest that we have more time next year to get it done, since Unum does not expire until the end of the year 2021. And that's a complaint that a number of people spoke about. It's because this committee has been forced over the years to make a decision at the last minute because it's an emergency. And when a contract doesn't expire for a year and a half, it's hard to see it as an emergency and the need to have an emergency meeting. So I heard that from several people.
Okay.
And Butch goes on to say this will allow more companies, both local and national, to bid. This is too fast and not enough information or enough other companies bidding, which is something else I heard. I talked to 3 very respected insurance folks in Lafayette. None of them had heard of US US Able, which I fully understand. But US Able is located in Arkansas where EBI is it not?
They are in Little Rock. That is correct. Yes. And they're a very large nationwide minus rated company.
Both companies are A rated.
That's true.
Aren't they?
That is true.
I don't know if you answered the question. One of the questions I had sent in was what your commission is going to be, EBI's commission is on both the basic that the school board is paying for, as well as the supplemental. What percentage?
So, as you know, on the Unum contract is very clear that their broker agreements as far as commissions would be shared. And I know that if Mr. Centani is on, he's probably smiling because he's asked several times of what type of commission we make on things. So tonight I would be happy to share with you. When EBI acquired Unum, we took a 10% cut on the standard rate. On these products, they are typically 15%. For the past 2 years, we've been paid 5%. So on what you've been paying roughly $350,000 a year, EBI has been making roughly $17,000. With this change, we kept it $5,000. So with the 18% decrease in rate, EBI will make $3,000 less. We will make $14,000 a year instead of $17,000 a year.
With usable on both the basic and
That's
supplement
correct.
For 3 years? 5%. For 3 years, you're going to do that?
5%. Now, if I go back and I negotiate with US Able to get my comp increased, and it doesn't hurt you, then I mean that's a possibility. But right now, we are at 5%, just like we've been with Unum.
But that makes me uncomfortable. If what you're telling me is you've got 5% now, but if we went with US Able, that you could go back to them and renegotiate your comp so it's higher, that bothers me.
I could do that with anyone though, Ms. Mounce. I
understand that.
I could do that with anyone, but that's not what we're doing. And I'm still getting you the savings, and I'm taking a cut on it again. So
the savings that you all are basing this on is on, as I understood the document, is based on the number of retirees, employees, and you looked at, your numbers were different because I think the 4,205 that you use for your calculation.
Trish, you want to share that?
And I guess it's Matt or Trish's calculation had a different number simply because of the timing, I assume, of when this was done.
That's correct.
Well, in addition to that, too, is one is fiscal year, one is calendar year, and we have a ton of retirees and terminations processing through HR. So these numbers are extremely fluid. Anytime we would have pulled it at the beginning of the month, it would have been different at the end of the month.
So, and the more retirees you have, the less your savings is going to be, because that's where the cost is.
Correct, but we didn't have as many retirees processed through this year, in all honesty, as we did. We had a standard resignation processing through, but in all honesty, the retirees weren't as much.
Well, I'm not an insurance expert. I'll tell you my concerns and why I just personally am not at a place right now to support this. Number one, I don't think it was an emergency to begin with. I don't know what's the situation is with Unum as opposed to usable. I think the comps were woefully inadequate. I would have expected 5 or 6 bids and maybe a spreadsheet that explained, maybe even 8. And a spreadsheet that said, this is what each company is offering, and this is what they're charging, and this is the recommendation EBI is going to make because of that. Getting the two that simply said, we're not going to do that, was kind of disappointing to me. And it concerns me, maybe it's just me, that of all the insurance companies that sell life insurance, US Able also sells health insurance, do they not?
No.
U.S. Able Mutual does not share a
US Able
claim.
does not sell health insurance.
U.S. Able Mutual Insurance does not also sell health insurance and share claims
US
with U.S.
Able,
Able.
US Able Life is owned by a number of Blue Cross states. They're owned by those, but US Able sells life, disability. They sell other voluntary products. So they do not build health plans.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Pennington?
I do. I have another one. This is Shannon Crumlish again. When exactly would these changes take effect? Because I'm a little bit confused, because if we have the contract through December 2021 with Unum, these changes would be for after that?
No, if you vote tonight to make these changes, they would go into effect January 1 of 2020. So we're getting ready to start your voluntary benefits open enrollment. That would be your opportunity to get that up to $200,000 guaranteed issue and those extra things for your family. Those would go into effect January 1 of 2021.
So we would, Katie Landry, so we would terminate the Unum contract if we vote for this?
Yes.
And you terminate it.
So we terminate it, and then everybody has to re-enroll with life insurance in January.
So the people who have the supplemental life, yes, you would re-enroll, but all those people that don't currently participate in the supplemental would have the opportunity to get the supplemental coverage. Right now, it's not guaranteed issue. So guaranteed issue just means that you don't have to answer any health questions.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yes.
May I ask one or two questions?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Shane, can you, just for the record, explain your role?
Sure.
And exactly how you secure bids and what you are legally required to do and in good faith required to do? And then after that, can you share with the committee, because when somebody says to me January 1st, we're getting ready to go into the fall, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and things could change on a dime as they did in the spring. What is and maybe Ms. Trish, this could be maybe part of your plan, what is the plan for how we're doing open enrollment in case things get worse?
Yeah.
Because if people are going to have to, and let me tell you why I'm asking that, if people are going to have to redo life insurance and we're not going to be at school or they're not going to have access, we need to know what the proposed plans would be.
Yeah, so I'll start again to restate my role as broker for voluntary employee benefits. My role is to work with the internal business department, insurance department, and this committee to make sure that we are offering products and services including, Mr. Mouton, what you just mentioned, how we go about enrollment, our billing services, all of those things. My job is to ensure that we're doing the best, not only for the employees and the retirees, but even for your office as it relates to billing and those processes. So as far as legally, there is no legally as far as how many groups I have to go out to bid or anything like that. There's nothing like that. Typically, like I mentioned earlier, I will go out to 3. Sometimes I may go out to, like Ms. Mounce said, 5. This situation, I went out to the 3 that I thought would be that we worked with more than anyone else that I thought would give us a good shot. I'll let Trish supplement this, but I'll start by saying, and I know that you've been involved with some of these conversations, we have put together an extremely robust benefit enrollment platform for this coming enrollment that starts in roughly 2.5 weeks. We will be offering, number one, we will be offering a self-service enrollment where employees will have the opportunity to go to our Ben admin system and enroll themselves. In the survey that we did in the first year, we had roughly 12% of your employees that said that they would prefer to do an online self-service enrollment. So they will have that opportunity. We've also put into place a scheduler app where we have each location, just like we would normally be in the schools, they're scheduled by week. So the schedule is going to look much like it did this past year or this past open enrollment, where they will be guided to the scheduler. They will schedule a time. They can either do a simple phone call or they can do a virtual call, just like what we're doing right now, so that they can look face to face with someone and have that conversation. We believe that that is the best way to do things. So both of those options are there. And then the other is that we'll have the call center there for just someone who just wants to pick up the phone and call in. Obviously, we would prefer that they go through the scheduler. It would help us out some, but they do have that opportunity to call in.
Hey,
Tricia,
I have a question. Why can't they just be transferred over? Why do
they can? Yes, thank you.
Why can't you just do that for everyone? This has been the most crazy, stressful year ever, and changing this, January 1,
Yeah.
I can tell you the amount of emails I've gotten from teachers, and mainly from teachers, and throwing this at them now, just seems.
So
I have a question when you're done as well.
Yeah. So
why can't they be just transferred and we don't have to bother them with having to re-enroll and be on the phone and do all that kind of stuff?
They can. I appreciate you bringing that up, Ms. Mason. So there's two options here. One, if you make the change, we still need to open it up. We're going to do open enrollment regardless. Okay. So that has to happen. That starts on September 13th and runs through November 14th. Okay. Those are the 2 months that we'll be doing that open enrollment this year. For any individuals who currently have the supplemental life insurance, we can do what we refer to as a census enrollment, which is basically we take what they have currently, we move it to the new plan. We would just need to communicate to them that we were doing it. But the other piece of that is a lot of people they may only have $50,000 or $20,000 of life insurance, and then maybe they got sick and now they're not able to get the higher amounts. So we need to offer it to everyone, because everyone will be eligible to get up to 5 times their salary or up to $200,000 this year. But yes, to your question, we can do a simple census enrollment for the existing folks who have the supplemental life and move that over. The basic life, there's no enrollment for that. That is an employer paid, everybody gets that. So we're only talking about the supplemental piece. So yes, it could be done by census, and that would make it extremely simple. We would still want to offer everyone, including those people, the maximum guaranteed issue amount of $200,000.
Shane, since we had to
this is Burnell. I have a question, Nancy.
Okay, go ahead.
I can't imagine. Do you foresee any ramifications for terminating a contract a year and a half early?
No.
So the company will say nothing?
They will say nothing.
Well,
Why?
Shane,
That's because that's how carriers work. There's nothing like you don't have to worry about any ramifications for canceling a product. It's just like you going out and saying, well, I've got my I've got my car or my home insurance. I can't change that for a year. I can change that contract at any time.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut in real quick, just because I don't think Mr. Mouton's question was actually fully answered. I think we're questioning who exactly paid you, I guess, would be your salary, where the funds came for you. Also, COVID-19, do you have any numbers to tell us how many retirees actually have this supplemental insurance, and how many would be affected if we do switch over now and they have to come back and try to get established as a new?
Yeah, Ms. Hollis, I think I missed your first part of the question, but Trish, do you have those totals there of the supplemental for retirees that you could share?
Ms. Ciji, that was in that members covered document that I sent over, but teachers retirement has 513 and Louisiana school employees has 149. So you're looking at 7 something exactly. 663 total.
and those people that now have their and have always had their payments deducted from their check, that would no longer be allowed for those retirees, correct?
That is a decision that can be made by you guys.
I thought it was in one of the documents that was sent to us.
So yes, that was a discussion that we had, was that we would like to move that off of Candy, who takes care of that right now. We would love to move that to a direct bill situation, but that is still something that can be discussed. It doesn't have to be that way.
Let me ask you this question, and Ciji had a good point. We're in the midst of a pandemic, and the vast majority of people who are vulnerable and dying in that pandemic are in the age group of retirees. So is there any reason you can't continue to look at life insurance products for the next several months and then bring us, say, 5 or 6 options, and we would still have time before open enrollment next year to do this?
Yes, but there's a couple things that you need to consider. Your retiree population continues to grow. That's why you had conversations in 2018 whether or not you should move forward with paying the $290,000 a year for retirees to have a small $5,000 life insurance policy. So your retiree census is going to continue to grow. So that risk is going to continue to grow. That's why I voiced earlier, my concern is that, and this is what, I never called this an emergency, and I know that
that's what we got.
I know that, I understand that, but that's not how I refer to it. I feel like this was a just in time, and I felt like with my findings, I needed to share that. But what I'm telling you is that over the next year and a half, that risk pool will continue to grow. With that risk pool continuing to grow, I'm just telling you, no one wants to touch the risk. I would say that if you are going to wait for that year and a half, that probably what we need to do is look at a total redesign of the plan and really take into consideration what the school board is paying for retirees to have a $5,000 life insurance policy. That's what I think we probably should do.
Can you tell me what that number is right now? What is the school board paying for the employees, retirees to have a $5,000 plan?
Chris, can you pull that up?
Yeah, they're paying $7.50 per thousand. So you've got
it was 290,000, I believe. I think it was roughly 290,000 that you're paying for retirees to have a $5,000 policy, and you're paying 50-something thousand for your active employees to have a $10,000 policy. That right there should be enough to concern you about what's going to happen as the retiree population continues to grow. Risk is real. And if I had 2 very prominent companies that turned down an opportunity to bid on this year, that's why I'm telling you, I don't know that USAble will be willing to next year.
Well, that's why I think some of us would have felt more comfortable if Unum had had the opportunity to say, you're going to lose this business come next December 21 unless you can make a better deal than Usable. That they may not have. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's of concern that we don't have that information, just like it's of concern that we just have 2 other options to look at. And
I have the same concern. I don't understand why it wouldn't have been, put out to like 15, 20 life insurance companies. I mean, just 3 is, there's so many out there.
Carole Broussard, I have a concern. I've seen this before where we rush quickly to do something. I think we need to take our time and not rush.
I do agree that this does seem very rushed, and I honestly do not feel like I am completely informed enough to make a decision at this time.
I agree. This is Shannon Crumlish. I agree, and I am not. I'm with everybody else. I'm not really comfortable making a decision right now when we don't have a lot of bids, and we are in the middle of a pandemic. And this is another thing that teachers and employees will have to worry about, their coverage changing when there is a lot of mitigating circumstances right now. So I share the same concerns.
Sure. So again, my job is to bring you options and you guys make the decision. So if you're ready to make that decision, you can do that. Again, my job is to make you aware of the options and then tell you what the risk is. So what I want to be very clear on, if we move forward with Unum, that come the end of 2021, come the end of 2021, I cannot guarantee you that they will not give us an astronomical increase on their rates and put me in a position, whether I go out to 3 or 13 or 30, that I will find somebody that can replace this at a rate that you want.
I don't think anybody's saying wait until next year, right before open enrollment again. No. I think you can continue to look, and we have another meeting on the 22nd. That's another thing that is purely, hopefully, a health insurance.
So you have to understand that
Trish and I have spoken. Open enrollment, all the products you're offering should come to this committee first before it goes out to everyone else. That didn't happen this year because of timing, but hopefully we will get it to happen next year. But if you need a meeting and you have 8 or 9 places you've looked and you've got other products and we're not saying I'm certainly not saying just go with Unum because I don't know.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, because what I would like
more time and more information.
Yeah, so what I'd like for everyone on this committee to know is that there were no other changes to any other products. You need to know that. But for the 3rd straight year, we were able to secure guaranteed issue. Typically, carriers will give guaranteed issue products for the first year. And because of the work that we've done, we've been able to secure that. So again, this year, although we're in a pandemic, we are still going to have open enrollment, and all of your employees will have the opportunity to purchase any of our plans without any of those the look back on.
Shannon Thomas here. How long is this this offer good for? When is the expiration date with US Able, the offer they're trying to give us now?
October.
Yeah, it's just through October of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any more discussion?
If you wanted to do it next year, say you wanted to have this effective when we're going to have to do it anyway because Unum is going to expire. So you're going to have to do this anyway. How early could you do it to have it effective for next year? What's the window of opportunity for you to get us numbers if we were to, what we're going to need to do next year? If we don't do this, we're going to need to rebid it out anyway. Right?
So again, and that's what I was trying to answer Ms. Mounce, is that I can't go today and ask for bids for next year. So these insurance companies, they have to look, look at what Shannon just asked me. They offered this on 7/27 and they only gave us till October. So that's 2 to 3 months. So 2 to 3 months is typically how long the window they will give us to approve their offer.
So you could bring us something in March.
The early summer, probably early summer would be the earliest that anyone would want to do that, because again, your risk population grows a lot when you're going into the summer, because that's when teachers retire. So at the end of the school system. So most of them would not give me a quote until after that happens, so that they have the full scope of what they're quoting as far as the risk.
Shane, I'm pretty sure that our current provider would be more than willing to give us a quote before then, correct?
I agree with that.
As far as Unum, would they be willing to give us something before? If we're going to stay with Unum, then I will start working with them again. It'll be right around the first of the summer next year on that renewal is when I will start working with them on that. So like Matt said, this is going to have to happen next year. And that's my biggest concern, y'all. I can't tell you for sure that it's going to happen. It's just my fear. We've had to work with them in some situations where it just wasn't real comfortable, and I didn't get the feeling that Unum was going to continue, that they didn't want to keep this risk. So they could come back. Unum could come back and say, we don't want the business anymore. So those are the risks that we're talking about.
Well, I have a question. Couldn't US Able also change their rates next year? There's no guarantee that they're not going to raise their rates as well.
So they're giving us a 3-year rate guarantee. So it would be good through 2023.
But are we going to switch a year in? How long have we been doing this one? A year and a half?
We're in the middle of a 3-year.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious. Could they, if we just keep switching carriers, it seems like a Band-Aid trying to fix something. Like, can't we just renegotiate, go around the problem and try to eliminate whatever risk this is that we're trying to, sorry, this is y'all's forte. I'm thinking about this from a business perspective and a teacher's perspective, honestly.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Asking very good questions. And what I can't guarantee you is that US Able is going to want to even be on it next year. The risk pool, retirees equal more risk.
Right. And I just think that, like Ciji said, and I'm looking at
thanks, Bob. Right now,
we've got to get back, I would prefer if you went back to Unum and said, hey, you're going to lose this business and see what rate they can give us. I mean, that's just how I would do business.
Again, three reasons that I go out and look for anything is product, if I can find a better product, price, and administration. So this conversation, we've totally gone to the price point, which is a big challenge for you guys to pay almost $300,000 for retirees to have a $5,000 life policy. That's a lot. When you're paying 50 something thousand for the actives to have 10,000. So as that pool grows, it's going to get harder for anybody to insure it. So what you're saying is, would US Able consider this? I can't answer that. That's my concern. Right now, they're wanting to give us 3 years, but there's other very reputable companies that wouldn't touch it. So that's what I'm telling you guys is that's the biggest risk. If you say no right now, I can't answer what's going to happen with Unum. They may say, we're out. I don't want it anymore.
But then you can go to other companies. I'm certainly not saying it's Unum or nothing else, simply because I don't have that kind of knowledge or information. Yeah. What I am saying is I think we need more information, more bids, more time. And it took a lot for this committee to do what we did a year ago and cut the retirement benefit to $5,000. And we did that to save the board money. So it was certainly not an easy decision for me. I'm sure it wasn't for anybody else. So yes, it's costing the board a lot of money, but it's costing them about $300,000 less than it did a year ago.
Yeah.
Is there a limit to how many bids you can seek?
Nope.
Do you have a limit? You don't have a limit for how many bids?
Go out for as many as I can go out for as many as I can, for sure. But what I'm telling you is the two that backed off are huge companies, and I've seen them take on risk, and they don't touch this.
Carole, Broussard. Can I call for the question? Let's put this to a vote.
Sure.
Or does anyone else have comments? Because if you call, we have to vote to call the question. Carole.
Ms. Mounce, I have one small comment. This is Mr. Santani.
Hi, Mr. Santani.
Hi, how is everyone? Shane, I just wanted to follow up with you and tell you that I never did receive the information that I asked for 2 years ago. It wasn't wait, let me say, it's not a question. It's just a statement. I never received the information. I wasn't interested in the percentage rate of your commission. I wanted to know the annual revenue that DBI derives from our voluntary benefit plan. So, I am still waiting for that. Appreciate you taking the time to present tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to call the question. I can't remember if it needs a second or not. So will somebody second that motion?
I second.
Ciji Hollis.
Ciji, all those in favor of calling the question, meaning we're going to vote next, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we need a motion whether to approve or reject the recommendation from Mr. Pennington.
Make a motion. Okay. I'll make a motion to reject the offer for now.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, if there's no further business, Shane, I hope you understand that we didn't say just Unum or nothing else. We're hoping you'll come back with other options for us. We just need more time and more information.
Shane's going to have to come back with an option. I just would like to see it sooner than later, Shane. And I know you have certain time limits that, you know, companies are not going to want to bid too far ahead of time, but looks like we're going to have to do this if the contract's ending, and we'd like to see some bids and have as much leeway. And hopefully we won't have the kickback on that, the retiree part is bad. And if we get it earlier, maybe it won't be as bad if we won't have as many retirees in the bid.
And hopefully COVID will be gone and we can all resume our lives. I really appreciate, I know a lot of you had trouble with the Zoom, and I want to tell everyone, I said at the last meeting, I hope we can get back to one meeting a month and one meeting a quarter. So I apologize, but I thank you very much for taking the time to participate, and I really appreciate the questions and the interest that all of you have. Our next meeting is going to be September 22nd. Whether it will be Zoom or phone, I'll leave up to Mr. Fontaine or Mr. Mouton, but we will let you know. But now that we are all experienced Zoom people, hopefully we can do it better next time. Thank you. And is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn. This is Debra.
Second.
Debra and Butch both made the motion to adjourn, and I don't know.
Second.
And Max made the second. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Good to see all you guys. Good to see you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Shane. Bye-bye.